Afternoon and welcome everybody. This would be the Jeff Cameron Show right here on 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV, running solo, completely solo today. That's all right. That's the way that the career started, right? That's how we used to roll. You know, it's kind of funny when I think about it this way. By the way, on Twitter, it's at J Cameron Show. Thanks to everybody watching. It is pre-recorded today. If you're in the Heisen Lincoln Law Firm chat, sorry, but you can talk amongst each other. But I won't be able to interact with you in that way today. Did want to get you some content before we roll into the weekend. Big series for Florida State taking on Duke on the road. And they get some good news. I'll touch on that momentarily. It looks like they're starting to get a little bit healthier with the arms. Could go a long way in determining Florida State's future is in terms of a top 8 seed, somewhere in that area. Now, they don't get everybody back this weekend, but I think they're going to get one arm back, and we'll talk about it in a little bit. Obviously, reaction to the draft. First of all, though, I wanted to do this. You heard me mention it on yesterday's show. I like Jared Verse, the person. I like Jared Verse, the worker. I like Jared Verse, the player. I like Jared Verse, the personality. Now, he's not for everybody if you're playing against him because he'll tell you about it. But I mentioned yesterday on the show that it kind of feels, like a proud papa in a weird way, only because when he announced he was coming to Florida State, I did an interview with him early on, one of the first, and I got to get a sense of his personality. And it was funny, after that interview, we exchanged numbers. I texted him and wished him all the luck in the world and that I would be out there covering him and we'd see what happened. And that was basically it. I mean, we're not friends. We don't hang out. But he texted back and said, I just want you to watch me work. I think you'll see what I mean. And he was betting on himself, and everybody does to some extent. You have to. But the imagine now the journey having reached this point. What you do know now about Jared Verse and his situation is that he'll be playing with the Rams, and he was a first-round draft pick. So now imagine you're a kid that played at Albany a couple of years ago. And you, through hard work and determination, your former tight end, you build yourself up. You invest in, obviously, all that time in the weight room, all that time trying to get better. And now here you are, a first-round draft pick. And I pinch myself for these guys, and I remind myself, having talked to a lot of players over the years that have been drafted, was at Jameis Winston's draft, in the room when he was drafted, which is an all-time fun and cool experience. I love watching that part of it because we get, all of us as fans of football, I think we get into what it means for that team and what it'll be for my team. Did we get the right guy? Let's debate the merits of that. These days, you get into the finances of it. You get into, for the pick value at number whatever, did you get the proper player at what position and what does that value rank? And did you get enough back if you made a trade? And we get mired into the soap opera, the male soap opera that is the NFL, which is a year-round thing, and it's effing awesome. I love it. But we somewhere along the way, you forget that there's a kid who's just like you and me, who one day when he was young decided he wanted to play football, loved football, probably saw his dad watching football, or maybe his dad's throwing the ball with him in the yard. And you watch over the years, we all do this. My kids are doing it now. I got a son who's a sophomore playing wide receiver at Leon. He'll be a junior next year. Should be a kind of a big year for him. We'll see what happens. I don't know. And another one who's about to enter into the realm, and he's going to be playing at Leon as a freshman next year. And I'm not saying this because I think they're going to go to the NFL. I'm saying just like the process that we all went through, like playing the game that we love, passionately watching, cheering for our teams, and playing the game that we love. And then you kind of forget that there are people just like us who are now realizing that dream and had their name called, and what that must mean beyond what's the fit, what are the numbers, was it the right pick? Well, Jared Verse, as the 19th overall selection by the Los Angeles Rams, will make and will sign a 4-year, $15.1 million contract, which is fully guaranteed. The rookie deal is roughly, $7.8 million from what I'm reading as a signing bonus. It includes a 5th-year option for him for the Rams to hold on to him through the 28th season. And he was the third edge rusher off the board. Now, yesterday's show, you will recall that I talked about Dallas Turner, I talked about Latu, and I talked about Verse as the big three. All went, and we kind of figured out like who is it? What kind of player do you want? One is the guy that has the traits, Dallas Turner, who, by the way, was sitting there for Atlanta to take when they made the most mind-boggling decision of the entire draft, maybe excluding Bo Nix going to Denver. But nonetheless, that's a nutso pick by Atlanta. I'll get into that in a minute. I like Penix, by the way, but there's a whole lot of reasons that that's a messed up pick. But they desperately needed a defender. They didn't take Dallas Turner. They didn't take Latu. They didn't take Verse. They took a quarterback. Okay. So once you saw how this was playing out, I began to get a little worried for Jared that he may end up falling well into the 20s. And then I got excited that the Bucs might be able to grab Jared Verse. As it turns out, he goes 19 overall. But those are the numbers. So Jared Verse, as of right now, is worth a cool $15 million, 7.8 right up front. Here you go, young man. Enjoy that signing bonus. You talk about a kiss my ass on Main Street moment. You talk about I always joke around over the years about going pantless in the right situation. No pants for Jared Verse today. No pants. That's if he's so inclined. Excuse me. I mean, whew. What it must be like in that moment to get that call and to have somebody say, "You're our guy. You're the 19th pick overall." It's got to be incredible. As I go on a coughing fit, congratulations to him. Today, Braden Fisk will go. Today, Keon Coleman will go. We'll see what Knowles go where after that. We know there's a very good shot over the next couple of days, of course, that you're going to hear Trey Benson's name, Jerry Jones's name, Bernardo Green, Johnny Wilson, obviously the aforementioned Keon Coleman, Jared Verse. Jaheim Bell is another guy. I would have liked to have seen Jaheim Bell have a healthy season. I said this about so many of the Knowles that are in this draft, but I think that's probably going to hurt him. I think there's some other things that might hurt him. But the hope is obviously that all of those guys get their names called over the next 48 hours. Now, as for Jordan Travis, a lot of pretty glowing things have been said about him lately with film review. I know you guys saw probably RG3's film breakdown of him. There have been a few others that I've seen that were very complimentary. Jordan has his limitations like all players do. Of course, the big question mark is the injury and how quickly he can be at full strength. Anybody that takes him would not do so to make him a starter anytime soon. He might get the luxury of going to the right place and the right fit where he can have a couple of years to figure it out, perhaps. And that's what you can hope for Jordan Travis. But I'd love to hear him have his name called as well as some of the other players. So we'll see. Florida State has, probably 9 to 10 for sure that we're going to be looking at. All right, back to this for a second. Florida State baseball on the road against Duke. I mentioned at the outset here that I think the Noles are going to get an arm back that they've desperately needed. And this is we've talked a lot about this, how it has hamstrung them in these series where basically when you don't have two starters, and obviously we know that they've been without Leiter, without Connor Whitaker. What Link Jarrett said yesterday is important. He mentioned, and I'm going to find the exact quote, we have to be smart in how we use him, talking about Ben Barrett. He's only made, 3 appearances on the year. He's 9.2 innings, I think, 9 2/3. But he's Florida State, in my opinion, does not have enough reliable arms from the right side. And guys that I'm talking about, guys that can come in and challenge the strike zone, guys that can come in and throw strikes. They don't have enough of those guys. Ben Barrett is that guy. he's got a chance. He's a smart player. He's a smart pitcher. He's got good enough stuff. Before he got hurt, he was throwing hard. He was throwing harder than I ever thought he could. I know I want to give credit where credit's due. I think Brett Nevitt tweeted out earlier this year that he was throwing 94. I would not have guessed that Ben Barrett would have been able to do that, but there he is. And so you get that back, and if he moves the ball around, now I think they'll probably look to him for 30 pitches or thereabouts, but that can go a long way. It could be a couple of innings for you from the right side when you need it. They just simply haven't had it, and thus they've been forced to thrust young kids into positions that they never would have wanted to put freshmen in. I'm talking about being on the road against stacked lineups with a lot on the line against a top 15 team. Ideally, you're going to get these guys in situations midweek. You'll slowly build them up to that place, but they haven't had that luxury with Whitaker being out. They've and Leiter being out. Now, what has emerged is that one of the long relievers, like Carson Dorsey, they've extended him time and again, and he'll stay in the weekend rotation this weekend as a guy that I don't think they planned on having him be that kind of a starter, but he's a guy who's done that before. He did it before he came here. So, maybe now you have 4 starters as guys get to come back healthy. You obviously Friday starters Jamie Arnold, today starter Jamie Arnold, but Dorsey struck out 11, gave up 2 runs in 6 innings. You go back and look at what this team was when they were healthy in the rotation and everybody kind of slotted where they're supposed to be. I'll reiterate, I have high hopes. I think this team, if those guys come back, if Whitaker and Leiter come back and join what we now know Carson Dorsey to be, and you've got Ben Barrett back from the right side, and everybody else kind of gets moved into the right positions, we know the offense is amongst the nation's best. If all of that is right at the right time, if you haven't slid too far away from a top 8 national seed or top 16 seed, you're going to be in real good shape. You're going to be in a position as you enter postseason to maybe be hitting your stride. It's just a question of how quickly they get these arms back and they can build them back to maximum stamina. If you're going to go easy with Ben Barrett and he's going to throw 30 pitches this weekend at most, obviously you got to ease him back into that situation, and he builds up strength. He builds up the ability to be extended further. The same will happen. They've got to be very careful with Leiter. They're going to have to be very careful if they get Whitaker back to build that workload. And I think they have a chance. It's a big series this weekend. You win 2 out of 3 while you're piecing this thing together. You got an opportunity, obviously, to be in a real good position when you come back home for NC State. I'm talking about ACC play. NC State next weekend, which should be a hell of a series in Hauser. That's the other thing. Florida State's had all these games where they've had to play double headers. Games have been moved up. They've had to play they play on a Tuesday, turn around and play on a Thursday instead of a Friday, Saturday, Sunday series. You get a Friday and a double header on a Saturday. Just craziness. And when you're short-armed, that's really difficult to overcome. And yet they're finding ways to pick off wins here and there. Even losing 2 out of 3 on the road to Wake and being in every one of those games, could have won all 3. Even getting the 1 was a big deal. You're just trying to tread water until you get these guys back. So that's where Florida State's at now. Speaking of which, transfer portal market. All right, this should be a big weekend. I think while the news has been quiet and we all kind of sit back and figure out who is it they're targeting, we know they want a defensive tackle. We know they want a wide receiver. This is a market that is scarce. This is not a cycle in the transfer portal that features a ton of studs. So we're in a position now where you're trying to be selective. You do need the depth. You do need a player or 2. You might need more. We'll see what becomes available. But you're not just going to throw money at guys who are rotational pieces that aren't being brought in to be starters. And those are 2 positions we talked about on yesterday's show. Those are 2 positions that demand a lot of money, command a lot of money. Like if you think about it in the portal, what are the positions that command the most money? Defensive tackle, very high on the list. Line of scrimmage is always going to be vital. We know this. If you're an offensive tackle or you're a defensive tackle, you can get paid. and maybe overpaid in some cases. Schools desperate enough to do it. Right now, when you look at like Michigan State's defensive tackle and you look at UCLA and you look at a few of these other guys, part of the problem for a program like Florida State that has a good first-team defense, a good first-team defensive line, and you're pretty well set with your second team. When you're thinking about bringing a guy in, you're thinking about a guy who at best will be a second-team rotational piece, maybe third. Those are the guys that are going to get paid starters money. It sounds like we're talking about the NFL. College football's kind of gone that way. You're not going to overpay for that. You can't do that. It upsets the apple cart. I'm not going to get out here and get into budgets, but let's just say Florida State, this is a hypothetical. Let's just say Florida State has $1 million to spend with their collective. I don't know that. They may have $50,000. They may have $40 million. I don't know. But let's just say it's $1 million. You're not going to spend 50%, 60% of that on a defensive tackle that is a third string rotational piece. Somebody else is willing to pay that guy starters money. You're going to lose that battle, and I think you just have to go into the season with what you got at that point, as opposed to overpay and take up that much of your budget. Let's see if they can thread the needle and find the right balance between a guy that can help your football team this year, provide the depth you're looking for, but not cost you an arm and a leg, which subsequently could hurt you when you really have to pony up and there really is a star player that you're going after that you could use and that you'd be willing to overpay because it's a position of great weakness. So Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. National management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
A cup of joe, Java, brew, go-go beans, brain water, liquid lightning, wakey juice, whatever you call your cup of coffee, you're missing out if it's not Grassroots Coffee. At grassrootscoffee.com, you'll find an easy way to order the best roasted coffee beans available. It's very simple. Choose the blend you want and how you want it ground, and the bag you receive will have the date your beans were roasted and packaged on it, all written by hand and signed by the roast master himself. You'll know that's as fresh as it gets. You can get Grassroots outside of your house also at some of your favorite restaurants in town. Next time you're out to eat, try asking for Grassroots Coffee by name because there's a good chance they will have it for you. And if you own a business, Grassroots Coffee has options to stock your break rooms with all the productivity powder your team needs. Plus, like some other options that you'll find at work, Grassroots Coffee actually is a part of our community. Hit grassrootscoffee.com today and get yourself a treat. Some locally owned, locally roasted, and locally loved Grassroots Coffee.
If you've been waiting for the perfect time to buy your new house, you'll be waiting forever. This is Shannon Young with Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, and I have been a mortgage lender for over 20 years. And I can tell you that there is no such thing as perfect timing. So take the first step towards your new home and let me show you what that really looks like. Chances are very high that you'll be very surprised at what I can help you do. When rates go low, prices go high, and that home that you've been eyeballing could be gone. If you're wondering how the drop in interest rates is going to affect your payment, give me a call. I'll be more than happy to show you all of the options available to get you into your new home. And for every single loan that we close for a fellow Knoll, I will personally donate $250 per closing to the Battle's End. Let's do this together and let's keep climbing. Call me today at 954-369-6171. That's 954-369-6171. Or you can find me online at loansforknolls.com. That's loansforknolls.com.
Equal housing lender. NMLS number 373031.
Pizza's here.
Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
We used to argue about whose turn it was to clean the gutters, but then I had leaf filter gutter protection installed.
Wait, I told you Leaf Filter had free inspections and estimates and a lifetime guarantee.
Meaning we never have to argue about whose turn it is to clean the gutters again.
But I visited leaffilter.com/beacon first.
No, I did.
It doesn't matter who. Visit leaffilter.com/beacon to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off today.
See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Welcome back, Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV, Libations Friday. He's Matt Lasseri, joins me now on the screen, staff writer, warchant.com, portal expert, recruiting analyst, whatever you want to call him. He's the guy I wanted to bring in today because, Matt, first of all, welcome in, buddy. Maiden voyage for you on the show, with at least a video for him.
Yes, sir.
Good to have you aboard. Hey, so seriously, I think when I come in each day, when I get ready to go on, one of the things I think about when trying to address the portal is, well, I can't address the portal until we get some kids the hell up out of here.
Yep.
What's the timeline, do you think, that we'll know which kids – well, there's 2 guys in the portal for Florida State right now that have left. We already know that, right? And so, Vendravius Jacobs gone, no real surprise there, I don't think, for people who understand the situation. Obviously, Greedy Vance. Okay. The exit interviews have to pretty much be over now. We're running out of time. This ends on the 30th, if I'm not mistaken. You got a very small window by which to make magic. What do you suspect, today's Friday, that we're going to hear in the next 24 hours about who's leaving Florida State's roster? You don't have to name names, but what do you think the numbers will look like?
I mean, I've been expecting not a mass exodus, but like something where a lot of people are going to leave soon, because you can't need I don't even know how many over we are in scholarships, but it's a good amount, and you can't bring anyone in, and we can't really push hard in the portal till, again, those guys leave. Exit meetings have been happening, as far as I know, all week this week, as well as coaches going on the road to see portal kids and all that kind of stuff. So I would assume they wrap up here probably today, right? If it's Friday, right? It makes sense for it to end today. And then maybe you see kids entering the portal through the weekend, and by Monday, what is it? So April 30th, that's Tuesday. So you got to at least, I would think by Monday, you're seeing all these kids start to roll out.
Yeah, I think they're in a situation. And then, because what you want, I'm putting myself in the position, if I'm a fan right now, look, we know Florida State has a couple of needs they'd like to fill. Now, it's a lot different than it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago. You're not looking at a situation where if you don't get this guy, you're going to lose 2 more games. It's like that. Florida State had such a dearth of talent at that time. If you miss out on Jermaine Johnson, if you miss out on some of the key figures that came in here and helped turn this thing around, you may not get there. The 5-7 could have been 4-8. The 10-3 could have been 8-4 or 7-5. It's not that way anymore. This is a good team with a good roster. So they have a little bit of wiggle room, but we both know that they're interested. You've been reporting for us on this. If you guys are on the premium recruiting boards, you know this. We have a running list. Matt updates it constantly. 12:10 in the morning, I think, was your last update, right?
Yeah.
So you're following this. Who are they? Do we know for certain going after? Defensive tackle, wide receiver, right?
So, yeah, defensive tackle and wide receiver are the 2 positions where they're going after, like, by far the hardest. Like, even linebacker, as much as I know you and me both want a new linebacker,
Yep.
It's kind of like they've kind of slow rolled that one. It's where unless it's like they want your D tackle or your wide receiver first, if you see a stud go in, they're off to the races and getting it. So, like, your 3 guys, and the wide receivers we haven't heard much about, at least this past week or kind of later in the week. It's kind of cooled down. But I think your main 3 guys are all defensive tackles, with Simeon Barrow Jr. from Michigan State, Derek Harmon from Michigan State, and then Jared Harrison Hunte from Miami. Now, an interesting one from yesterday who visited Florida State in the winter window was the linebacker Cam Riley from Auburn, decommitted from NC State last night.
Yeah.
So that one's interesting. Not hearing a whole lot on that front, but remember that was an NC State FSU battle down the stretch.
I was just about to say, wait a minute. The only reason that's interesting is that it was NC State or us. We lost out to NC State. A lot of frustration amongst Florida State faithful in that moment. Listen, I'm not going to hide it. I've been critical of the linebacker room. I've been critical of the linebacker coach. I've been critical of Florida State's position at linebacker for a couple of years now. They've had guys that have been pretty good players, but they have not been elite. And I feel like at Florida State, you have the opportunity at linebacker to be elite if you want to be. I'm not saying this guy changes the world for Florida State, but do we suspect now that he decommitted from NC State that Florida State would be number one on his list? Have you spoken to him?
So I spoke to him briefly last night during when the draft was going on and stuff. He told me FSU had not contacted him yet, and that was literally maybe an hour after he decommitted. So again, let's give it a little bit of time. I'll probably reach back out to him sometime today. At that point, he said no one else had actually contacted him. The school we are kind of hearing there is UCF, which came out of nowhere to me. That was news to me. But it's, again, Florida State, if they want this one, you would think they could have it just because they already have the relationship built. You're already there. Like, you already had the visit. Like, you don't really need to do much there. At least you wouldn't think so.
Elijah Herring. We're on that position. Let's talk about it. Yay, nay?
Seems like nothing has happened. He visited, but what's weird though is that he also hasn't done much. He visited Colorado right when he entered, and now he hasn't done anything this whole week, and now he's visiting Kansas State. But
so this is the kid, for people that don't know, Matt, this is the kid from Tennessee, right? The linebacker, sideline to sideline, 70-plus tackles a year ago. Their leading tackler. He's huge, by the way, by our standards. 238 pounds, can really go. What gives? We're not interested?
I think it's like I said, it's more of the D tackle and the wide receiver, that if those are the ones they want to get first. And I think personally, it's probably because the linebacker room did show improvement over the spring. And honestly, in my opinion, probably the most improved position group. So they kind of fell off the board a little bit. They just want, if they can get a stud D tackle and a stud wide receiver, and that's all they do this portal window, I think they're happy.
Do they exist in this window, though? I don't. This particular cycle of the portal. This is not an elite group crop of players. So, in your opinion, based on who you know they've been targeting, I'm moving over to wide receiver now.
Yep.
Is this a situation, because there is no Keon Coleman in the portal this cycle? Is this a situation where you want to take a kid, even a kid from like a lower level? I always use Marshall as my example, like just some school like that where a kid's played a lot, ton of catches, an experienced football player, but not an earth shaker, not a first-round pick, not a guy that people are going to be, wow, because you could get a guy with that experience to help even out that room that has a bunch of guys that have never had to do it.
Yeah, so with that, like there was, if I could find his name on here, there was one kid from Colorado State that kind of stood out there that kind of fit that mold, like wide receiver that I like, who, again, I think they're targeting, but I haven't really heard much on the wide receiver front in the back end of the week. Elijah Badger from Arizona State. I know you and Tom have talked about him. I feel that kid is like perfect for this offense. They've used him. At Arizona State, they used him from the run game. He had 11 carries for 51 yards, I believe, there. And then obviously he was really good as a receiver, and he even returned kicks. Like, this was an all-around kid. He's coming from Kenny Dillingham's offense, which isn't too different from Mike Norvell's offense. Like, I just felt like in general that was a perfect fit there.
Is that somebody they're going after? Is it somebody they've talked to? Do you know?
It is someone they've talked to. From what we've heard, it's someone they've talked to. But again, that was in the front end of the week. The back end of the week, haven't heard much.
All right. Any other receivers to tell us about that you think they've talked? Well, that you know they've talked to, or that they'd be interested in based on what you're hearing?
The one that we kind of heard about early on was Auburn wide receiver Jay Fair from Rockwall Heath, Dallas, Texas, originally. Again, not really much there right now. I think that's kind of your lower on the board if you can't get anyone. I kind of get the feeling that right now they're still waiting to see if a stud will enter, something more will happen, right? Because also, yes, that you can't enter the portal after the 30th, but you can still commit and sign and all that kind of stuff. So if you can get that one guy to enter on the 30th or sign his paperwork on the 30th, and then I think he won't actually be in the portal until 48 hours later, because that's how long the paperwork and all that kind of stuff takes. So you could see that stud wide receiver enter there, and then it's off to the races. I just feel like it's no one who's like that, not Keon Coleman level, but even a little bit below, who's kind of really, really caught their eye yet.
It's interesting to hear that because everybody thinks, and for good reason, man, we're all new to this right now in terms of the transfer portal and the marketplace and what money goes where and why. It does appear to me, talking to folks in collectives, that, look, you're going to always overpay for a defensive tackle because everybody needs them.
Yep.
Everybody wants a stud wide receiver too, and you're probably going to overpay there. The only other position where you'd pay more for a guy is a quarterback. Everybody knows that you're going to have to pay quarterbacks. If you're in need of a quarterback, you're probably going to have to pony up. But those are the positions, right? Offensive line is also on that list. I think it's fascinating that each of these cycles, we've kind of learned that there's a chance that if you just wait it out and it makes everybody uncomfortable, there's a real good chance your favorite team out there is talking to somebody who's on edge, is contemplating, isn't sure, would like to know what kind of offers he would have. He's not going to just willy-nilly put his name out there in the portal just to do it. We're watching kids mature at the same time we're all figuring this out and covering it. I think it's fascinating. It used to be everybody floods the portal. I'm putting my name in there. Well, man, you're on Front Street at that point. You just told everybody that you're unhappy where you're at. You just told everybody that you'd be happy to go somewhere else. Kids are wising up. They're like, well, maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe I don't have another home. Maybe the grass isn't greener. Maybe the money's not as good as I thought it was going to be. So I'm not real sure. But that doesn't mean they're not talking to teams. And that's what you're getting at. There could be somebody out there, and we're speculating, could be somebody out there that Florida State's talking to. We'll see. Maybe convince them that put your name in. There's a home for you.
I mean, while you were saying that, I thought of the analogy of it's like when you already have a girl at a bar and then you kind of see another hot girl across the way and you're like, but I want to go talk to this girl, but I kind of got a chance to get home with this one right now. So like it's kind of like that.
Yeah, it's tough. And you can't let the other one know. Like, how do I engineer this? I'm going to go to the bathroom right now. Maybe a little word over here. I'll keep it walking. See, I hear you. It's been years. I've been married for 20 years, but I get you. I was in college once. That's a fair analogy and perfectly suited for a man your age. I appreciate you did that. All right. Any other things we should know going into the weekend? Because the last time I'll talk to you before some probably big news happens. Next time will be on Monday, maybe. Anything that you want to just speculate about, throw out there that you think, this could happen, I'd be interested, or for people to pay attention to over the weekend anyhow?
I will say, I think, so in general, I think the weekend's going to be a little more chill. Like the Michigan State kids, one of them graduates today, and he's going to be at Miami both of them are actually going to be at Miami on Monday. So, I mean, and Florida State's pushing for the last visit for both. In my mind, you're already in Florida. I feel like it's easy to take that trip up to Tallahassee. The one, again, I'm really watching is that Miami defensive lineman, Harrison Hunte. I think they have the best chance at him because I think if you're talking money-wise or NIL-wise, I think you can get him at a little cheaper price point because he doesn't have the production of these Michigan State guys. And he's still good. I'm looking at like Kane Sport, Miami boards kind of stuff. They all really liked him, and they didn't want that guy to leave. As much as they might say on Twitter.
How did this come about, Matt? I mean, nobody was talking about that all that long ago. A couple of days ago, nobody thought that was coming. Where did that come from?
I wish I knew. Maybe it's the girl at the bar thing we were just talking about.
Well, screw Miami is what I'll say. So there you go. Not really worried about it. I do like to know that they care about him and that they like him. And if he left and came here, I suppose. What a weird world we live in, man. This never would have happened when I was in school. The thought of a kid leaving a Florida and coming to Florida State, leaving a Miami and coming to Florida State, but it was so rarely seen and really frowned upon. But we know things change, and that's what's happened in the world of the portal. You grab kids from your rival all the time. We just did it with Florida. Richie just came over. We're like, okay, well, that'll work. So it'll be interesting to see. Okay, well, we'll continue to monitor that. Thank you, Matt Lasser. We'll continue to follow your reports, obviously, on the premium recruiting boards there. Good work out of you. Talk to you soon, brother.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. That's our own Matt Lasser, Warchant.com. You can read his work on Warchant.com. You can follow his updates regarding the portal and recruiting, all that good stuff, both in the regular tribal council, but also the premium recruiting boards there. You want to go do that. This is a weird time. You got to get kids out of here before you can get kids in here. I've been waiting for kids to leave. We're all waiting for kids to leave. You got to massage that situation, but time is of the essence. It's the 26th of April. This ends pretty soon. You really can't definitively offer up 3, 4, 5, 6 guys, if that's your plan, until you get that many of these guys plus to leave. So until that happens, you won't hear about any movement that is definitive, you'll hear these rumors, but our guy, Matt Lacerra, is on it. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
I'm Greg Tisch here to share one of my favorite TCC stories. In the summer of 1966, Eugene Lamb wanted to stay in shape before leaving to play college basketball in Louisiana. So he jogged to Tallahassee from his home in Midway and helped lay the bricks for the first building on what's now the TCC campus on Appleyard Drive. Today, he is a longtime member of the TCC District Board of Trustees. It's no exaggeration when we say Trustee Lamb helped build TCC into what it is today.
TCC thanks our community for 58 years of support. We look forward to moving into the future together.
There is no Bigfoot, Eddie. Would you stop with that nonsense?
There's a Bigfoot, Jeff.
I wish there were. By the way, I don't want you to point to me as the guy that takes all the fun out of the room. I wish there was the Loch Ness Monster. I wish there was the Bigfoot. I wish there was the Chupacabra. All the things.
They're all mythical except for the Bigfoot. The Sasquatch.
The Bigfoot?
The Bigfoot. There's big feet. There's lots of them.
So like different, breeds, like different kinds.
There's like, families. There's different families. And,
so if they're in the snow, you call them a Sasquatch.
Or the Yeti. Right,
yep,
and then here in Florida, that's a skunk ape, and I've never
heard that one. By the way, why do you think it's real? We would have found them by now.
They're the hide and seek champions of the world. Nobody finds the Bigfoot.
But I think you believe in Bigfoot.
I do believe in Bigfoot.
You don't believe.
I believe in Bigfoot.
Don't tell anybody you believe in Bigfoot.
I would go look for Bigfoot, but he scares me.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
So the thing of it is, if we're talking about, first of all, thanks to Matt Lacerra, Warchant.com. Recruiting, staff writer, does a good job. Up and coming star in the business. I guess we'll see if this is dated at the time that you're watching it. I don't think so. It's just a couple hours before I would normally go on. But we'll continue to monitor that. If you want those updates, you need to go over to the recruiting board and check it out. And the premium recruiting board will have everything you need. If you're not a member of Warchant.com, a subscriber, I should say, let's get on it. Almost like a membership, right? Feel like you're part of an exclusive club, the best club of all the clubs. The thing of it is, again, I don't think the numbers are going to be huge. I think it's going to be a few at best. So the shuffling is from Florida State's side, getting kids out the door so that they can bring in those few. So prepare to hear some names. Prepare to hear some receivers and the like and go from there. Because I think those are the positions, right? We've talked about running back maybe. We've talked about wide receiver. I'm holding my breath. They don't lose some of those talented defensive backs, but that is a room that is loaded. So there's a possibility there too. But I think you could get to the numbers you need with just maybe 3 or 4 receivers and a couple other guys that, maybe aren't going to play for you that have been here for 3 or 4 years. How quickly can they get these guys, for lack of a better term, processed through so that you can open up your arms and say, come on in, guys, come on in. All right, so the draft last night. Here's the thing. If you're a Falcons fan, how frustrated are you? It's not that Michael Penix won't work out. Maybe he will. Maybe it'll turn out. I mean, we know the bust rate on quarterbacks is overwhelming. These are crazy numbers of quarterbacks. In fact, look at these numbers. I pulled this up earlier this morning when I was prepping. So the Bears have now drafted a quarterback in the top 15 3 times in the last 8 years. Trubisky, Fields, and now Caleb Williams. Think about that. 3 quarterbacks in 8 years that they've drafted. First team to do that in 60 years in the modern era of the draft. Unlike past years with the Bears, for example, this time around they have weapons. And they've got a guy, too, that they drafted they can develop. Adunze is a nice player. Obviously, they brought in veteran receivers in the offseason, so maybe they gave a guy a chance. By the way, highest drafted quarterbacks. I'll get to this stat in a second, and I'll marry the two. This is basically 6 quarterbacks in the first round, most in the first round since 1983. 1983 is as famous a draft as there is for quarterbacks. We're talking about Elway and Marino and Eason and all those guys. We know how big that draft was. Not everybody makes it. That's true of the modern NFL draft, and that will be true of this draft. In fact, just go back a few years and look at all the guys that were taken. I think it was 5 in the top 15, and only 1 has re-signed, re-upped with a second contract with the team that took him. There's a high miss rate on quarterbacks. I think we've reached a place where we're starting to enter into insanity. Throwing darts at a board, just peppering your roster with quarterbacks, like hoping like hell that one of these guys will emerge. And in some cases, you're getting guys that did not show it in college, didn't show you anything that made you think, oh yeah, his game translates, it's going to work out well here, he's a perfect fit. I mean, Bo Nix going that high is kind of insane. I'm not saying Bo Nix won't be good. He might. There have been a lot of players worse than Bo Nix that made it into the league and ended up having some semblance of success. I mean, right about now, all bets are off when you're looking at Mr. Irrelevant starting for the San Francisco 49ers and going to a Super Bowl. So, I mean, I think we know you can, in the right situations, work around weakness, especially if you have an abundance of strengths. If you have a good offensive line, if you can run the football, if you've got a great defense and a really good play caller and an elite tight end, yeah, if everything's in place, an average quarterback who's never been anything more than average when he was in college can be put in the right situation. And if you can bolster his confidence and get him to play within himself, you can win games. But you're not really trying to draft that guy, are you? You're trying to draft the guy that when things aren't right and you don't have a perfect roster and you don't take the field as the better team, then that guy can still win you games. Mahomes has proven that. There are so few quarterbacks that actually go win games. There are many more that go and lose games for you. So coaches are always paranoid. We live in the era of the check down. In the check down era, Bo Nix could be successful. So could all these guys. Michael Penix throws a better ball than Bo Nix by a lot. You could argue Michael Penix throws the best ball in this draft. Problem with Michael Penix is he's 24 years old. You just brought in Atlanta a quarterback. I'll grant you, Kirk Cousins coming off of a Achilles. They're worried about him. He's 36 years old, but you signed him to a huge deal, upwards of $100 million. He's going to be your starting quarterback for at least 2 years. You've got the option of the third. And I will tell you this, if Kirk Cousins wins in Atlanta, now they needed to go defense and they didn't go defense. They went quarterback. That's why it's the talk of the draft. But if Kirk Cousins wins this year, because they believe they're a quarterback away from winning, that's a pretty good football team. They chose by bringing Cousins in a path to try to win now. So when you bring in a veteran like that and you take a chance on a guy who Kirk Cousins never been a top 5 quarterback, but he's good enough to win with. If you've got other pieces, he's a plus quarterback. Now, again, would I want him to be my franchise quarterback? No. But if I had a lot of things working for me, I could understand why you'd take a chance on him. The point is, the Falcons did. They went out and signed him. They brought him in. He's going to be the starter for 2 years, maybe the starter for 3 years. You just drafted a 24-year-old quarterback to sit behind him. That is not exactly an effort to win now. An effort to win now is you bring that quarterback in, you shore up your pass rush, you go grab Turner or one of the 3 defensive ends, whether it's Dallas Turner, whether it's Latu, whether it's Jared Verse. That's what you go do. You could actually argue, if you wanted to, that you grab an offensive lineman. You grab, I don't know, Dunze. You could have grabbed a receiver, and you would have been like, oh, well, they brought in Kirk Cousins. It kind of makes sense to go give him some help. You could have said almost any position would have been in an effort to win now. Offensive line, wide receiver, I don't know, basically any position you could have, because they needed defensive help, so you could have said several positions on defense. But instead, you go quarterback who's going to sit behind a guy that you're paying $1 gazillion to. I know it came out that Kirk was pissed about it. I don't really care about his feelings. I get mad when these guys do this. Look, man, you've made $1 gazillion in the NFL. Your money's mostly guaranteed. It's going to work out. Don't worry about the fact that they drafted Michael Penix. You can WTF this all you want. You're rich. Go play. You're the starter. Don't worry about it. Would have been nice if the Falcons were on the same page. And it does kind of show you that they're not exactly a well-run organization. And I did think it was interesting last night to watch their GM have a conversation with their owner and have that be on camera as he's trying to explain to him, well, Arthur, this is why we went and took a quarterback with this pick. And I know you didn't possibly suspect that that's what we were going to do. Or couldn't have known that. I didn't tell you that. That's why I'm explaining it to you now on camera, and this is a little bit awkward. And I'm sure he could probably pull the wool over the eyes of an old man who's going to listen to the guys that he's got in positions of power. But the quizzical look on Arthur Blank's face was the right look, Arthur. You're right. You're not wrong. You should have been wondering what the hell the Falcons are doing, because that dude that you drafted is 24, won't play until he's 26 at best, maybe 27. And, oh, by the way, he's got an injury history with the knee. So you drafted an old quarterback who's got knee problems so that he could sit for 2 to 3 years. That ain't it. And I like Penix, and maybe Penix goes on to have a very good career several years from now. You do realize that a player like Jordan Love is only a few months older than Penix, and he's been in the league for a couple of years? Like that. The other thing is, typically we see with these guys in the modern era anyhow, where quarterbacks are so protected and quarterbacks get the benefit of the doubt and offense rules the day. Not in all cases, but in a lot of cases, you're better off getting a guy and plugging and playing and letting him get reps in the system and learning from mistakes so that by the time he is 24, like Michael Penix, he's had a couple of years to figure it out and emerge. Now, you can ruin a guy. I'll grant you can ruin a guy. But that was just bizarre last night. I said yesterday going into the draft, I thought the draft really began with the 4th pick overall. Was anybody going to give a king's ransom to Arizona in order to get that 4th pick? Or would they sit and just stick with Marvin Harrison Jr.? And then what would happen with the quarterbacks that remain? But, man, nobody, just looking big picture of the storyline of the night, offensive linemen, there were 9 offensive linemen taken with 32 picks. That'll tell you where this league is headed. A bunch of quarterbacks, record-setting number of quarterbacks within the top 12 picks, and we're at a place now where we can just say it. Yeah, I'll grant you, we don't know which of these guys are going to emerge as the stars. We don't know which guys are going to have the best NFL careers. GMs, all the best scouts fail routinely in vetting these players. So you have to admit that no matter how strong your feelings are, like mine for J.J. McCarthy, I don't see it. I don't know why anybody took him. I don't believe in him. I would have graded him out as a 3rd-round pick. Doesn't matter what I think. The funny part is it's all a lot of fun for us to do because I'm not so sure they know either. That's proven every draft. Most of the time, the top quarterback taken doesn't turn out to be the best quarterback taken. See Patrick Mahomes. So we can guess along with them, because our chances of throwing the dart at the dartboard and hitting is probably about the same at this point, especially if you're an avid viewer of college football. But, man, I do feel like we've fallen into the realm right now of just taking quarterbacks to take them. Like, there's nobody on earth midway through the season this past year that was like, I think that Bo Nix will go in the top 15. You do? What? And the reason I bring that up, because somebody might quickly type into Google, can all do that. What were Bo Nix's numbers at Oregon? Well, they're great. They're fantastic numbers. Go look at the offense. He's asked to make a lot of short throws. He's asked to make a lot of quick throws. He wasn't asked to read defenses. He wasn't asked to go to his 3rd and 4th option. He wasn't a guy that you could see 1, 2, 3, 4 composure down the field. That's not what he was asked to do. He got the ball out quickly. Athletes made plays, racked up big numbers. Maybe it works out for him. Maybe he's in the perfect offense. Maybe Sean Payton's like, you know what? I had that. I had Drew Brees. He had a child's arm the last 5 years he was in the league. And all I did was throw the ball 4 and 5 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. I need a kid that can throw the ball in a noisy pocket, take a small step forward, get it out of his hand. I'm a genius. I'm Sean Payton. I'll find a way to make this work. I made it work with a guy that could barely shot put the ball 20 yards down the field at the end of his career. Maybe that's true. But, man, I feel like we're drafting quarterbacks that nobody – I mean, this is happening time and again. It's a desperate league. Run by offense, quarterback-driven. Just keep peppering, keep firing away at quarterbacks. We'll draft 3 in 8 years for the Chicago Bears. Eventually, we're going to get one right? We'll draft 3 in 7 years, 3 in 5 years. I mean, this is where we're headed. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Hour number 2 forthcoming. Stay with.
Attention, Florida. Are you a victim of an auto accident? We introduce our live chat sponsor, Heisen Lika Law Firm, dedicated to representing injured clients statewide. If you've been in an accident, call Heisen Leaka Law Firm at 813-803-0733 for a free consultation. Remember, there's no cost to you unless they win. Your interests come first with Heisen Leaka Law Firm, the name you can trust for justice. Call 813-803-0733 now or visit HeisenLeakalawFirm.com. Heisen Leaka Law Firm, your advocate in times of need.
Everybody
I don't
knows
know that.
Patty and
I don't
Scott.
know. This is Patty Wilson. Not this is. I am Patty Wilson.
What is the idea behind said promo?
It's for Patty's Playhouse. We're on Patty's Playhouse Saturdays at 11. Tune in. That's stupid. Just tune in. Saturdays at 11. Patty Wilson, Patty's Playhouse. House talk with a happy ending.
Each and every time.
Widden Glass has been taking care of business since 1945. When you call Widden Glass, you're dealing with experienced, reliable professionals who offer only the best. Like Widden's top-of-the-line bath enclosures that provide style and luxury at an affordable price. Eye-catching storefronts are a specialty at Widden Glass. We'll help you design it and install it. Widden Glass, the first name in glass replacement. Call 222-5781.
Okay, Kohl's has some epic deals right now that are perfect for early summer prep, and I need to talk about it. I just went and found my entire family tees under $8 and sandals under $30. Not to mention new patio essentials for 30% off, plus Iron Kohl Stash. So don't wait. If you want great brands and great prices for a great summer, you got to get to Kohl's. Select styles. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohls.com for details.
What's keeping you from learning the language you've always wanted to speak?
Too hard.
Takes too long.
Not with Babbel. Babbel's interactive lessons, podcasts, games, and more make learning fun.
Fun isn't hard.
Right. And in 10 minutes a day, Babbel's bite-sized lessons are designed to get you having real conversations in as little as 3 weeks.
That's not long.
It's not hard.
It's perfect.
It starts here. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take-home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat-screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFT, Greta, Tallahassee.
Whether you own a local business or a global one, you're always looking for ways to position your operation to create opportunities and move on them faster. With Bank of America, you get access to experts, award-winning insights, and business solutions so powerful, you'll make every move matter, locally and globally. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Copyright 2024, Bank of America, N.A.
Progressive presents Flo and JD announcing a monster truck rally.
And here comes the Obliterator. Whoa! And he's up on 2 wheels. That can't be safe. Oh, I don't recommend flipping your car backwards. Did he even check his blind spot? And the car's on fire. I definitely don't recommend that. This is one of my recurring nightmares.
Progressive is all about keeping it safe, so bundle your home and auto for 24/7 protection. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Coverage not provided for monster trucks. Not available in all states.
Sarah here with Seminole Auto Glass. Hey, Greg.
Hey, what's up?
It's turkey season. Have you hit one yet?
A turkey? No.
Good for you, because we've seen more turkey suicides than anything lately.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we had a pretty foul morning.
Oh.
But our customers just went to Seminole Auto Glass and uploaded their insurance card. We got them back on the road with feathers flying in no time. Hey, Greg, which side of a turkey has more feathers? The outside.
Oh.
Better call Seminole.
Seminole Auto Glass. Call 850-539-4527.
You probably already know that Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas is your one-stop destination for all pool maintenance needs, offering everything you need from chemicals, cleaners, vacuums, nets, and more. But that's not all. Pinch a Penny also carries a huge selection of premium hot springs hot tubs paired with easy financing options, making these luxury hot tubs affordable for everyone. And if you have an older hot tub and you're worried about the hassle of removing it, worry no more. Pinch a Penny will not only remove and haul away your old hot tub, but also offer a trade-in value for a credit towards your new one. So why wait? Visit Pinch a Penny's 12,000 square foot showroom today on Greer Road and discover how effortless and affordable owning a fantastic hot tub can be. Find out more at TallahasseeHotSpring.com. That's TallahasseeHotSpring.com.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4.
Hour number 2, Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3, Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV on a Libations Friday. Our thanks to our friends at Zaxby's. Appreciate you, Danny, and all the fine folks at Zaxby's sponsoring the show and sponsoring this hour. And, oh, by the way, over 19 years as a Golden Chief booster, they're supporting FSU. Support those that support us. Swing by one of your 116 neighborhood Zaxby's. Wow, that's a lot of Zaxby's. Swing on in there and get you some of the golden brown nuggets that are delicious with that Zax sauce, and do it up right this weekend. Enjoy it. Treat yourself. Zaxby's. That sounded like it was almost official the way I did that. Hey, don't know if you know this. Last hour, we had Matt Lucera on. We talked about transfer portal targets, people leaving, coming and going, all that good stuff. We talked some about the NFL draft, which I'm going to touch on here for a second. Obviously talked Florida State baseball. Talked about congratulating Jared Verse. I think there's a chance that we're all going to be saying a hearty congratulations to, I think, one of the fan favorites. There's no doubt this past year that Braden Fisk emerged as a guy. First time I saw Braden Fisk, remember he came from Western Michigan. This is a guy whose career is interesting because coming out of high school, didn't get a lot of great offers, wasn't considered to be a big-time prospect, and went to Western Michigan. Not long after going to Western Michigan, he worked his way into a starter's role and made big plays and emerged, and his stock continued to rise to a place where he had an opportunity to become heavily coveted once he decided his time was up at Western Michigan. If you'll recall, Notre Dame was the team that a lot of people thought he'd go to. They were pushing hard to get him, given that region of the country and all of that. It seemed logical that he might end up at Notre Dame. He did not. Florida State was able to win that battle. Now, Florida State is really a program right now that most people recognize as also having a great working relationship with the Battle's End. The Battle's End is mentioned today and has been cited in an article in the Wall Street Journal. Now, the article is on Braden Fisk, and that's where I want to turn your attention, because Braden Fisk, headline reads, Wall Street Journal, sports section, the NFL draft prospect moonlighting as an investor. When Florida State defensive tackle Braden Fisk received a windfall in the new collegiate sports economy, he resisted the urge to spend it on cars and clothes. Instead, he put his money in the stock market. That's the headline, subheadline. There you go. That's it. Braden Fisk's story in Wall Street Journal is a good one. And it certainly documents the fact that he goes from a small conference school at Western Michigan to becoming a coveted player that transfers to Florida State. And then he decided, you know what? With the money I have the opportunity to make here, I've decided I am not going to spend it as my dog. I'm not going to spend it on a car. I'm not going to spend it on clothes. I'm not going to spend it on any of those things, but rather instead, I'm going to invest in the stock market. He's done well, apparently. He admits in that article, and I'll let you go read the rest. I want you to draw your attention to it, that he's now become sort of an addict about it. with podcasts and books that he's incessantly reading, and he can't wait to have the opportunity to invest yet again. He's going to have considerably more dollars for which to invest, and by which to invest, I should say. So we wish you luck. We wish you luck to all those guys. But Braden Fisk, I was telling the story. First time we saw him, he was wearing a green jersey coming off of injury. But when you looked at him, you went, ooh, okay, that guy looks the part. We'll see. And he poured all of his energy into what they would allow him to do, which was largely calisthenics and running. And for a big guy, you don't normally see that. So you loved right off the bat the opportunity that he knew existed and what he was going to try to do to take advantage of it. Once they started hitting, you saw the explosiveness, you saw the speed. I think what's fascinating about Braden Fisk is when you go back, he had an impact early in the year against LSU. So right off the bat, you're like, okay, we got us a guy. But then there's kind of a lull for a time there, and you're not real sure, like how much of an impact he's going to have. As the year goes on, he, like a lot of other people, are fighting through various ailments. But, man, that second half of the season, when you go back and look at how he played, especially over those last 4 games, man alive, it was a different player altogether. And I think that's obviously what everybody sees. And then the Senior Bowl practices, and he's a guy that he loves football. One of the things that I think over the years you begin to figure out, and I think this is applicable to what they've done at Florida State. We talk so much about evaluating, getting it right in the portal, this staff, how well they've done. We talk a lot about Mike's ability to kind of see how a guy from another school might fit in what he's trying to do. We often reference that they have to be a good culture fit so that the locker room doesn't get upended. They've done all those things well. But I think looking back now, here we are with the draft one day behind us, another today that we'll see more Florida State players drafted. I think they've also gone out and find guys that love to play football. And I think in that interview room, I haven't had a chance to talk to too many NFL executives, a couple here or there over the years, but you do it with scouts too. And when you talk to the scouts that come to practices, those are often interesting conversations if you can strike one up. A lot of times, and they ask questions, obviously, the coaches. They're going to ask questions of people in football positions. They'll ask press members that they see out there, that they know cover the team. What are your thoughts on this guy? I'm only here. I've only seen him twice. Last time I was here, he didn't practice. Does he miss a lot of practices? They ask questions like that. But I've asked those guys, beyond the physical traits, the physical tools, there's, every team sort of has a set of numbers that they're looking at. Some of them will tell you by position what has to be the case, right? If you're an offensive lineman, if you're a left tackle specifically, you have to have this length arms, you have to weigh this much, you have to be this tall. Some, that's ironclad. They're not going to waver off that. They won't look at a guy that doesn't fit in those parameters. The only time there's an exception to the rule is if somebody is preternaturally gifted, where they say, okay, well, he's not quite 6'5" like we'd like. He's 6'3", a little smallish for us at tackle, but best feet I've ever seen for a 315-pound man. And, oh, by the way, he's got freakishly long arms for only being 6'3", so we'll take a look. But really what happens beyond those parameters, certain physical parameters that teams like guys to fit into, boxes they like guys to fit into, they get back to whether or not a guy loves football. And I'll tell you one of the reasons that that's the case. Because you want to know when you're drafting somebody, if I give this guy millions of dollars, is he still going to play hard? Is he still going to, after achieving his dreams financially? Now, a lot of guys have dreams that go much more beyond the financial elements of this discussion. There are guys that, obviously want to make it to a Pro Bowl, want to make it to the Hall of Fame, want to win Super Bowls, etc. That's all well and good, but you got to identify those guys. And one of the ways you can identify those guys are if you're passionate about your sport, if you love to play the game, if you're all in all the time, then you don't have to worry that when you back up the Brinks truck, whether or not they're going to play hard because they got self-discipline, they've got pride, and they love the game. They can't wait to play the game. And I think about that a lot these days when I'm at practice, because I think Florida State has a lot of guys that like to play football. And I think that's been a big part of the transformation too. It hasn't just been that Mike has been able to find guys that fit an offense or fit a defense. It's not just that Mike and his staff have been able to vet these guys when they come in as to their personality traits and whether or not they're going to fit in the locker room and whether or not they understand the way they do things here at Florida State. First of all, if you think about at the top end of what Mike does is he challenges the best players on the team to get better. From a leadership standpoint, get better physically, get better, be more responsible, more disciplined, more consistent on a day-to-day basis, all those things, right? Well, you can't do that without really being hard on guys, without riding guys, without really, really being there around every turn to push them to the brink. And the only guys that can take getting pushed to the brink on a regular basis are guys that really want to get better and really understand the process and really get why it is that the coach is being hard on them, whether it's their segment coach or their head coach. Braden Fisk, one of those guys that loved it. Jared Verse, one of those guys that loved it. Most of the guys that you're going to see drafted by from Florida State in this draft are guys that absolutely loved it. So that's the other part of it. Thinking about it last night, thinking about Jared Verse last night, thinking about Braden Fisk today and other players that are going to get drafted, I thought, man, that's the other thing we never bring up is that they're finding good players and they're finding kids that want to be here and they're finding kids that will buy into the system. They're finding kids that want to work hard, but they're also finding kids that freaking love football, almost like in a weird way. I think back to, any practice I was ever involved in as a player, certainly not here. I wasn't good enough to play here, but anybody that's ever been through that, which is a lot of you, I mean, how many days were you like, man, I got to freaking go to football practice. It is 105 degrees. I don't want to be here. That's like normal. I think you almost have to be a little bit crazy to love football so much that even in those sets of circumstances, even when you're tired, even when you're sore, even when you've been beat up, you're like, yeah, man, this is awesome. We get to do this. That's kind of the mentality, right? It's like we get to do this is the better way of thinking it. Jeff Cameron Show 93.3, Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
The famed Snake River Farm steaks and premier meats. Social Kitchen also has chef-prepared meals and sides ready to serve in just under 20 minutes. Perfect for those very busy springtime weeks, weekends, you name it. Hosting some people at the house. Hey, Social Kitchen also has build-your-own charcuterie boards and catering. Stop in and visit Social Kitchen today or visit us online at socialkitchentlh.com. Socialkitchentlh.com. Hey, let me tell you about my friends at Tried and True Consulting, a Seminole-owned business that specializes in payments and business solutions. Tried and True's core expertise includes card, ACH, point of sale, mobile, e-commerce, and hosted payment solutions. Tried and True will help you reduce costs and increase your bottom line. That always sounds nice. Whether you're a retailer, restaurant, licensed professional, or service industry, Tried and True is saving you money. Tried and True's expertise extends to payroll, video menu ad boards, IT services, web design, and social media. It's time to make one call and tell the competition to take it on down the road. Call Don or Joe today at 844-464-6653. That's 844-464-6653. When you do business with Tried and True, they contribute 10% of the net revenue to the battle's end. So go Tried and True today. Call 844-464-6653.
Have you been injured on Interstate 10? I'm Jimmy Fasig of Fasig Brooks Law Offices. We've partnered with RoadProof to access all interstate traffic cameras along I-10 from Pensacola to Jacksonville. Let us help you get the proof you need to stand up for yourself and get fair compensation for your injuries. Call us today and let us secure the proof you need to come back stronger. Fasig Brooks, 850-777-7777. Offices Destin, Tallahassee, and Jacksonville.
Barry knows cool. He's keeping you comfortable. Barry knows cool.
Your heating and air conditioning system doesn't check with you before it takes a break. That's why we're always ready to help. Any day, anytime, anywhere. And with our annual service agreement, there are no overtime charges. Ever. At Berno Heating and Air, we will always be there for you.
Barry knows heating and air conditioning.
License CAC 1816186.
There are more identity threats than you realize. Even if you monitor your credit, only a little personal info needs to leak out, like your social security number or password.
Are you going to become a victim?
LifeLock alerts you to threats you could miss. If your identity is stolen, a dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will work to fix it. No one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions, but everyone can save up to 25% off their first year with promo code NEWS. Go to LifeLock.com.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies candidates with the right skills, sends you great matches, then you can easily invite them to apply. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. See for yourself. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
Rolling on, I always want to thank my man, Adam, and his fine team at Artisan Financial Strategies. Time for the Red Zone. Now, normally we have the sounder for the Red Zone. Don't have the sounder today, but as I've mentioned before, Adam Tolliver is a fellow Knoll, and his team of experts at Artisan Financial Strategies want to help you in the retirement red zone, the 5 years leading up to your retirement and the 5 years after. Really important times, thoughtful planning for you, your family, the whole deal. You get it. And we talk about scoring in the red zone, helping your family prepare for rising healthcare costs, perhaps carefully planning your legacy, whatever it is you want to do. The Artisan team brings a combined 30-plus years of planning experience, world-class resources to help you navigate the way on home. Go to knollretirement.com. That's knollretirement.com. Been excited with the response to this. A lot of people have reached out to Adam and his group. You'll see if you go to their website and explore that, knollretirement.com, that they have everything they need to help you, and they kind of get pretty thorough about it, which is a good thing, which is a really good thing. All right, so here's what I would tell you. Round 2 today, Braden Fisk figures to go. I think from what I'm reading here, there's a chance, and this would be cool. Now, maybe this is further than he would have liked to have slid if it happens this way. And remember, these are kind of educated guesses. The Tennessee Titans at 38 are probably looking defensive tackle. A lot of people think that the fact that Jazar Newton from Illinois is still out there, it might be the pick, but it could also be Braden Fisk. The second round starts with pick 33, just so you know. So that'll only be 5 picks in. There's a chance he could go there. If he doesn't go there, could be the Carolina Panthers, although they're looking more edge rusher. You could see, and I think this is a great landing spot. And if it happens for him, celebrate this moment, because there's a chance that he goes to the Houston Texans. And Houston added depth through free agency. Fisk is capable of pushing for a starting role right off the bat. This is a kid that had 11.5 sacks when he lined up as a defensive tackle. So they love how active he is. They love the quickness, the quick burst, the hand speed, all of that. That is the second most sacks for a defensive tackle in that span in FBS. That's how good he's been. So there's a chance that he'll go within the top 40 picks, 43 picks or so of this draft. The next guy to go, we think, from Florida State is going to be Keon Coleman. And Keon Coleman's had a rough go compared to where we thought he was going to be at the end of the season. Keon Coleman was a guy that through much of the early stages of the season we thought could go pretty high in the first round. Now it is a receiver-heavy draft. There are a bevy of talented receivers. But who needs one? Who needs to replace exiting receivers? Who's a place that has an excellent quarterback? Who's a place, or where is a place that Keon Coleman could go and maybe flourish pretty quickly? Well, don't be surprised if the Cincinnati Bengals with pick 49 take Keon Coleman. It would be unlikely that he's still there at that pick, but I don't think he'll fall below that today in the second round, because I don't know how you would not take him if you're Cincinnati. The T. Higgins trade request is out there, all of that. This is it would be incredible value for Cincinnati if they could get Keon Coleman here. Other places that are looking wide receiver, if you survey the board, there aren't that many right now because a lot of them were gobbled up in the first round, but the Chargers are looking receiver. Do the Chargers at 37 like Ladd McConkey from Georgia? Would they go Keon Coleman over him? They lost, of course, Mike Williams and Keenan Allen in the offseason. So one of those two receivers, good chance they go there. Adonai Mitchell is still on the board. The New England Patriots are probably going to go receiver. They have the 34th pick. That is also a spot that Keon Coleman could land at. So 34 today. You could also look at 37 with the Chargers. If he falls beyond that, a lot of the teams that pick next are not looking wide receiver. He could fall all the way down at that point to, as I said, the Cincinnati Bengals at 49. Look, running back here, there's an outside chance that you get Trey Benson drafted. Who needs a running back in this round? Now, running backs are not valued the way they once were. We all know that. Even the best of running backs often fall very far in the draft these days. It's kind of sad to watch, frankly. But let's look at the mocks, if you will. I put them all together this morning, went through the collection of about 14 or 15 that are looking at these teams that may trade down and who need a running back, and others who may trade up. All right, well, Buffalo doesn't need a running back. They're probably going to go corner. Just got done talking about the Patriots, who I think go wide receiver. Arizona's probably looking at defensive back. Kool-Aid McKinstry is still out there from Alabama. That'd be great value there. Don't need it in Washington necessarily. Just talked about the Chargers at wide receiver. Keep it going. Rolling on down here. Let's find somebody who needs a running back. Anybody that needs a running back. The Los Angeles Raiders. They have good depth at running back, but they lost Josh Jacobs to the Packers in free agency. So there's a chance. Now, a lot of people believe Jonathan Brooks will go there. He's a running back out of Texas. Outside chance you get a running back at that spot. So maybe Trey Benson today to the Raiders at 44. It's kind of a mess in Oakland, Las Vegas, I should say. So I don't know. Any other area that might be looking running back, and again, it only takes one. There aren't that many teams that are coveting running back. You may, if you don't get picked right there, fall quite a bit. Could fall out of the second round. Could easily fall into the third round. For running backs, that's just the way it is these days. That's the life that they lead. So, to the question, the red zone question that I posed to myself, thanks to our friends at Artisan Financial Strategies, where do the next Noles go? What spots? Vetted it for the second round. My worry is for Trey Benson. The Texas kid keeps climbing. I'm not sure that he'll be a second-round pick. I think he'll fall maybe to the third. Really want to be wrong. Really hope I am. Reminder, NoleRetirement.com. That's one word, NoleRetirement.com. Go see my friends at Artisan Financial Strategies. Several fellow Noles have, and they're glad they did. Chef Cameron Show 93.3, Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Hey, Noel fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
There he is. Haven't seen this guy since, what was it? Oh, shoot. U2 at the Sphere in Las Vegas, baby.
Hey, how about that, man? Wasn't that fun?
Good show. Good show. Everything about it. Nearly perfect. Nearly perfect.
I had everything I could possibly want.
I wanted one thing, couldn't find it, and I looked everywhere. No Cubans.
What do you mean?
There was Cubans.
There was Cubans.
No, I didn't see any Cubans.
Dude,
no.
I'm sure there was Cubans there. I mean,
No. I walked around. There was a moment right before the show. I thought, got to find some Cubans. Nothing.
Dude, there's Cubans. There was Cubans. I'm sure there was Cubans.
In Las Vegas?
In Las Vegas.
No Cubans in Vegas.
There's Cubans in Vegas, man.
Eddie, there were no Cubans.
Chef.
The sandwich
There were no Cuban sandwiches. You're Cuban. Of course I know there were Cubans there.
Oh, the sandwich. Yeah, no, there probably wasn't many there in Vegas.
No Cubans.
No, not yet.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Got a glimpse last night of the future for Nick Saban. Got a glimpse last night of the future for Bill Belichick. Coming up, I think, this year, right? We're going to learn about Tom Brady. You know who's got the best chance, I think? Here's the thing about any of these former coaches or players, especially Hall of Fame coaches, Hall of Fame players, Hall of Fame, if you are a player, coach, former GM, a lot of these guys get opportunities to be on sets, to be on game day, to be analysts, to be featured and certain broadcasts. Like, I think what's cool, I was talking about this the other day. In fact, this is kind of a larger conversation. It's fun to have. I was yesterday on the show, I was talking a little bit about it. I got to find a way to not make this pompous. We were talking about replacing progress with innovation and how that skirts the question as to whether a novelty is actually an improvement, right? So, like new gadgets, our technology, there's something new all the time. But is it progress, or is it innovation? Does it make things better? In a lot of areas, it doesn't. Like, you can look at, like, newspapers going away is not a good thing, but that's what happened because of the internet. And this is a larger discussion, but with websites and with apps and with the cutting cords and cable and the 24-hour news cycle, opportunities were obviously abundant for you. You got to fill time. You got to fill the never-ending quest for content, and some of that is terrible. Because what happens is you get unqualified people or people who aren't doing their due diligence, who don't adhere to journalistic standards, just saying things to say things. And a lot of times, as we all know, on the internet especially, but on TV shows and talk shows, and it can be whoever's the most outrageous, whoever is willing to say the most outrageous thing to create fodder and content in a 24-hour news cycle all the time. And there are people within that realm who do a really good job too. And so what's happened is a good and bad thing. These former players and former coaches and GMs that get opportunities, inherent to that is some, I think, respect right off the bat, right? If you played quarterback in the NFL, if you were a head coach in the NFL, if you were a GM in the NFL, you come with gravitas. People immediately, rightfully, I think, to some degree, assume you have a better idea of what it is you're talking about than just Joe Blow who never got to that level. That's not always true, though. That's the other thing we've figured out, is that players and coaches aren't always great analysts. A lot of times players were really good players, and when you hear them talk, you don't know how the hell they were a good player. Countless players have given it a go as broadcasters, and they stink at it. Either they don't know how to talk themselves, out of a corner. They don't know how to set something up. They're too afraid to be critical. Or in some cases, and this happens a lot, in every sport, a former player, high-profile player will get a chance, and you'll hear him talk, and you think, it's pretty clear that guy or gal has no idea what they're talking about. They were a really good player because they were bigger, stronger, faster. They were a really good player because, they had a great work ethic. They were, in some cases, a really good player because of the way their brain worked. This is not to take away credit. They get credit for that. Everybody's built differently. Everybody's got unique gifts. Sometimes you come across a guy, as I like to say, that is preternaturally gifted. And man, this guy, and I don't think he's bad on TV, but I'll give you an example. Randy Moss was better than everybody else on the field. Randy Moss, you could send on a go route repeatedly and just throw it up. And that dude would moss people, as it's known today. That dude would jump 40-something inches in the air and make a play. Didn't really have to understand football to be able to do that. I'm using him as an example. It may be unfair, but there are guys like that who are so talented that then if you were to ask them to break down an offense or break down a defense, they couldn't because they just relied on incredible athleticism. But more often than not, the areas in which these guys that are former players turned commentators fail is that they have an unwillingness to be critical of their fellow player or coach or GM. They don't want to say what needs to be said about decisions being made in the moment because they have immense respect for those who are in the fire, those who are competing, because they know how freaking hard it is. They know how difficult it was to call plays on the fly and to always get it right, to have a game plan week in and week out that is perfectly suited to take advantages of the weaknesses of an opposing defense or offense, right? They know the difficulties of that, so they're reticent about ripping somebody who whiffs on the assignment in a given day. So I circle back to this, right? We've never had more access to the minds of actors and writers and musicians, and that's true of athletes and coaches than we have now. So you learn which guy can, which guy can't, which girl can, which girl can't, right? These guys get it. There's a tactful way to do it. I think everybody gets that. I bet we would have wondered, certainly out loud, hey, how good can Bill Belichick be as an analyst? Well, if last night serves as an example of what's to come, if he wants to do this, he could be great. He may end up being the best of the bunch. I question whether or not Tom Brady will be critical enough of quarterbacks, of head coaches, of wide receivers, of offensive players, defensive players. Like, will he say what needs to be said as an analyst, as a lead analyst? A color broadcaster has to be able to do that. You have to be able to come in and provide some sort of insight. This is why people flipped out when Tony Romo first came on the scene, because he was calling the plays in advance. But it's one thing to be able to call plays in advance, right? When you're fresh out of the game, you really are aware of tendencies. You're really aware formationally of what teams are trying to do to one another. You're really aware of terminology, certainly. So you have an opportunity. We are in a booth with Jim Nantz, and you can see down distance time and say, well, in this situation, teams really like to run this because you just did it. And the NFL is a copycat league. There's nothing new under the sun. Most teams incorporate similar concepts in certain situations, and you can guess what those are going to be, especially if you were just in the fire yourself. So that was a cool thing, because if you remember, John Gruden did this when he was on Monday Night Football. John Gruden, when he first got on Monday Night Football, we thought, this is a revelation. This guy's awesome. Well, he was a play caller for the Bucs while being a head coach, and at the time, he had been the youngest head coach in the NFL. So he was still vibrant. He was still tuned in. He was still addicted to football, passionate, and he had opinions. And he'd call the play, and he'd tell you why that was a good play or not, and it all worked out. But over time, that begins to subside the further removed you get from having been on the sidelines, calling those plays, being a player, being a scout, being a GM, being an analyst of any kind, right? So then it becomes your ability to assess the good and the bad and give us the straight dope and not fear what the backlash is to that. And I am curious, to what degree will Nick Saban do that if he's on the desk of College Game Day? Because again, now you're talking about college players. It'll be interesting to see if there's a willingness to rip college coaches, or will he continue to talk about big picture stuff? No doubt he could be very good at it. The knowledge is not in question. He can be entertaining when he wants to be. But Bill Belichick, folks, last night, I don't know if you saw when he was criticizing Drake May, but he was really good at it. And they broke down the film, and I think McAfee did a good job of having Belichick on and getting him loosened up enough to talk. Like, there were a lot of different broadcasts, a lot of different ways to consume the draft last night. And I went through this morning, went back and watched a lot of these, and the ones that worked on NFL Network, or whether or not it worked on ESPN, or whether or not it worked on individual shows like McAfee's and others. The Ringer did one as well. The Athletic did one. it's kind of fun because you find all these places where there are former players, former coaches, former GMs being asked to fill that role. And I find that like 70% of the time, the guys aren't really good at it, but the ones that are going to be willing to stick their neck out there, well, who better than to do that than Bill Belichick, right? The other thing you learn in a situation like that is the character that he created for post-game press conferences while he was the head coach of New England was just that. It was the curmudgeon who doesn't want to be there, because he didn't. He was all consumed about getting ready for the next game, all consumed with his team, didn't care about other teams, was all consumed with executing the way that they want to do it, all consumed with putting together game plans. The last thing on earth he wanted to do was talk to you about injuries, talk to you about the reasons for a win or a loss, probably because he didn't respect those that were asking the question, probably because he didn't believe that the questions were good questions because they weren't rooted in something that he believed to be football savvy. And, the problem with that is that you have to understand as a head coach, and you have to understand when you are as seasoned and accomplished as Bill Belichick, that even though the guy across from you asking the questions doesn't know a third of what you know about football and hasn't accomplished what you have in the game, is asking for the very reason of trying to educate the fans. And oh, by the way, every time you give an insightful answer and every time you take seriously the question being asked of you, unless it's asinine, you are guaranteeing more people are engaged and interested in your team. Thus, ticket sales go up. Thus, people show up. Now, again, a lot of great coaches, they know if they just win a lot of games, whether they give you anything in the press conference or not is irrelevant. You'll show up to a team that's winning Super Bowls. And to be sure, that's when he developed that persona, right? I don't have to talk to you. I'm winning Super Bowls every other year. Why do I care to sit here and talk to you? Now, fast forward to where we are. Now you're out of the game. Now you've been humbled a little bit, but you're still a legend. You're still one of the 10 best coaches in the history of football. Some would say the best. Okay, fine. And nobody has any more interest in debating, Brady, Belichick, who was more responsible, all those things. What they do want from you is very real insight as to why something is the way it is. And again, the access we have has educated an entire generation of football fans. I dare say that young football fans, and I'm getting old, so I'm 52, I've seen all this happen. The internet has provided this for us. And this is the cool part. This is the good part, not the bad part of the internet and access. When I meet, like we had Matt Lucero on last hour, very knowledgeable guy. Ben, who's producing today's show, very knowledgeable guy. There are a lot of kids who grew up by being able to go to YouTube and finding videos of breaking down an offense, breaking down what a quarterback should do. There are gurus everywhere. There are people who played the game who are now coaches who have clinics and camps and do all of these things, and it's all online. You can watch it. So when you go to watch a football game, I think a lot of people, if they're not so caught up on fantasy numbers, fantasy sports numbers, and you can tell pretty quickly when you talk to a person who really gets football, who's paid attention to the things I just mentioned, and those that see football through the lens of fantasy sports. Because fantasy numbers do not always equate to success in real football. And real football numbers certainly don't always equate to success in fantasy. But if you're so caught up in fantasy, you probably aren't watching full games and understand how we arrive at a certain place in said games, and then you don't really get the concepts and understand the game. You just get guys that score points for you on fantasy Sundays and Mondays and Thursdays and the like. So if Belichick does what he did last night, and is able to just say, look, man, I'm effing Bill Belichick. I know inherent to me sitting down, walking in here and talking to you that I know more about football than you could ever dream of knowing. And I'm going to be willing to impart some of that knowledge. Well, hallelujah. It could be phenomenal. We talk about the age of the quarterback. We'll see what Brady is as an analyst. But we may be entering into a pretty cool little, I won't say golden age, but we could be entering into, because these are older guys, we could be entering into, let's say, I'll give it 5 to 6 years of awesome analysis from some of the best that ever have done it. If they just care and don't, if they care to open the door to this, and they aren't afraid to criticize because they're legends. What do you say to Tom Brady? You think you know more football than Tom Brady? What do you say to Bill Belichick? What do you say to Nick Saban, right? The question becomes, what do they say to us? Do they do it? Do they make it happen? Do they give a damn? Do they care at all? Oh, man. One can only hope. So I just thought I'd share that because I thought that was good last night. Go back and do yourself a favor. Go back and listen to what he had to say. Go back and listen to a little bit of what Nick Saban had to say. Nick Saban, by the way, on game day this year, if he's going to play the prominent role like we all think he is, if he's going to, I don't know what they're going to do with Sunshine Scooter. I don't know what they're going to do. Lee Corso's been awesome and a legend, but we all know time is up. If most of what they're bringing Nick Saban in to do is to fill that role and to be, kind of a heavy hitter and analyst and take up a lot of those minutes, and they can maybe use Corso ever so slightly here and there because he's a beloved figure, that'd be great. But I hope Saban is willing to go out on a limb in the same way that we saw Bill Belichick do last night a couple of times. And you know what? It can be intoxicating, I would think, because the feedback to that is going to be great. That's why I've always wanted, like Johnny Miller was awesome in the golf booth. We've talked about this a lot before because Johnny Miller had won majors. Johnny Miller had been an accomplished player, and Johnny Miller wasn't afraid to say, this guy stinks under pressure. That's a choke. This is a terrible swing. That's the wrong thought process here. Oh God, what an awful putt. While also praising guys for doing things that he knew in the moment are really hard to do, right? If you pulled off the shot, if you made the putt, if you did engage in the right strategy, he would say, oh, no, this guy is unbelievable. He is locked in. He's focused. That's really hard to do. Do you understand what he just did? That's all you want out of these guys. I'd love to see Tiger Woods get into the booth someday and do that, but I don't know that he will. All right. Coming up, we'll do probables, say goodnight, say goodbye, say hello to the weekend, all those good things. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3, Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
National management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
A cup of joe, Java, brew, go-go beans, brainwater, liquid lightning, wakey juice, whatever you call your cup of coffee, you're missing out if it's not Grassroots Coffee. At grassrootscoffee.com, you'll find an easy way to order the best roasted coffee beans available. It's very simple. Choose the blend you want and how you want it ground, and the bag you receive will have the date your beans were roasted and packaged on it, all written by hand and signed by the roast master himself. You'll know that's as fresh as it gets. You can get Grassroots outside of your house also at some of your favorite restaurants in town. Next time you're out to eat, try asking for Grassroots Coffee by name because there's a good chance they will have it for you. And if you own a business, Grassroots Coffee has options to stock your break rooms with all the productivity powder your team needs. Plus, like some other options that you'll find at work, Grassroots Coffee actually is a part of our community. Hit to grassrootscoffee.com today and get yourself a treat. Some locally owned, locally roasted, and locally loved Grassroots Coffee.
If you've been waiting for the perfect time to buy your new house, you'll be waiting forever. This is Shannon Young with Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, and I have been a mortgage lender for over 20 years. And I can tell you that there is no such thing as perfect timing. So take the first step towards your new home and let me show you what that really looks like. Chances are very high that you'll be very surprised at what I can help you do. When rates go low, prices go high, and that home that you've been eyeballing could be gone. If you're wondering how the drop in interest rates is going to affect your payment, give me a call. I'll be more than happy to show you all of the options available to get you into your new home. And for every single loan that we close for a fellow Knoll, I will personally donate $250 per closing to the Battle's End. Let's do this together and let's keep climbing. Call me today at 954-369-6171. That's 954-369-6171. Or you can find me online at loansforknolls.com. That's loansforknolls.com.
Equal housing lender. NMLS number 373031.
Pizza's here.
Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
We used to argue about whose turn it was to clean the gutters, but then I had leaf filter gutter protection installed.
Wait, I told you Leaf Filter had free inspections and estimates and a lifetime guarantee.
Meaning we never have to argue about whose turn it is to clean the gutters again.
But I visited leaffilter.com/beacon first.
No, I did.
It doesn't matter who. Visit leaffilter.com/beacon to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off today.
See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
All right, kids, let's do it. Let's wrap it up. Let's head to the weekend. And as always, cheers. And I hope you guys have a good one. Obviously, Florida State on the road. It's time for probables. We got to do it. Do the right thing. Cue it up. We'll get to. By the way, speaking of probables, so for Florida State, we're continuing to hear the good news that they're getting closer and closer to having the full allotment of arms. And I think, I continue to be kind of bullish on this team because the offense has been great. They have found a way to patchwork together despite the injuries to the arms. And you're talking about two starters in the rotation that have been out for weeks. They've still found ways to win enough games where they're in a position. And Tom said this the other day. They got to start winning some of these series, even shorthanded as they are. It would be a huge boost for them, obviously, if they could go and take 2 of 3 from Duke on the road. Duke's a really good baseball team. But yesterday, you just got done hearing Link Jarrett state that Ben Barrett is available this weekend. And lest we forget, Ben Barrett is a reliable arm, is a guy that gets outs. He doesn't walk a lot of batters, and Lord knows, with all that we've been watching for the last several weeks, the bullpen has had a real problem throwing strikes. That's in part because you're taking some of your best bullpen arms and making them starters while your starters are out, which means then everything trickles down. You guys know this, but you then have to throw freshmen in really dicey situations. And several times they've had to ask guys they didn't expect to pitch this year, or guys that they didn't expect certainly to be pitching in a weekend series on the road against a top 15 team. And they've had to ask those guys to go out and try to get outs in environments against good lineups that are difficult to deal with. And they haven't always been able to respond to that. And so, it's maddening to walk a lot of people. I'd rather you throw it in the zone and let's see if we can't get lucky and let baseball be baseball. Guys may square you up, but they could also hit it right at somebody. There's no defense to a walk. And if you're just going to walk people and runs are going to score on one hit, you get multiple runs, you got 4 guys on, you're plunking batters, you're not giving yourself a chance against these good teams. So Ben Barrett being back this weekend is huge. Now, they're going to ease him into that spot. He's not going to play a lot or pitch a lot. Apparently, I think they said somewhere in the neighborhood of, they got to ease him back somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 pitches, something like that. So we'll see. But I do think that's a good sign. And I also liked what I heard from Link yesterday when he talked about they got good news on Leiter. That tells me they're going to work him back into play, not this weekend, but really soon. And Whitaker, I don't know. I don't know what to think of what he had to say there. He just said he's moving around, whatever that means. I don't know what that is. We think they're going to get those guys back. So what you'll instead get this weekend is what you've been getting, is what I think, right? But the addition of Ben Barrett could absolutely be huge. No Cam Leiter this weekend, no Connor Whitaker this weekend. What they'll end up doing is using Carson Dorsey, and they'll, and along with you'll have Jamie Arnold, Andrew Armstrong will pitch this week, and you know how they'll do this. That's how they've had to piece it together, and that's not bad. But imagine how good this can be when those guys are long relievers and people have more set roles. A little bit easier. All right, onward we go. Let's go to probables. Kansas City and Detroit, Seth Lugo, Reese Olson. A's, Orioles, Ross Stripling, Corbin Burns. We got the Dodgers and the Blue Jays, Gavin Stone, Chris Bassett. Cubs, Red Sox, Shota Amananga. How about that? Cutter Crawford. Cardinals, Mets, Miles Mikolas. Yes. That was terrible. I needed Tom there. Jose Puto goes for the Mets. Nationals, Marlins, Trevor Williams, Jesus Luzardo, Guardians, Braves, Logan Allen, Chris Sale, Rays, White Sox, Zach Eflin, Chris Flexen, Reds, Rangers, Graham Ashcroft, Nathan Eovaldi, Yankees, Brewers, that'll be Luis Gill, Colin Ray, Twins, Angels, Bailey Ober, Patrick Sandoval, D-backs, Mariners, Zach Gallen, Emerson Hancock, Phillies, Padres, Aaron Nola, Joe Musgrove. My Buccos are playing my dad's Giants, West Coast tonight, 10:15. I'll probably be up. Quinn Priester starting for the Pirates, not good. Kyle Harrison starting for the Giants. He has been pretty good. And that is a look at those that shall reside on the bump. I should also mention, of course, that we thank our friends at Power Mill Training Academy for sponsoring this segment as they have for the last 2 years. Power Mill Training Academy, powering performance. If you want to learn more, PowerMillSports.com. I will say this, 27 alumni in the majors, 45 years of experience, and could be your little girls playing softball, your little boys playing Little League baseball, whatever it is. They've got you covered either way, as they do have developing camps for those kids that play either sport. They develop fundamental skills, foundational for every player's game. Look, your kids want to have fun playing the game. They got to be able to do the fundamentals and get the most out of what they have. Power Mill Sports will help you do that. Go to PowerMillSports.com to learn more. All right, that's it. That's all. I hope you guys have a great weekend. We'll be back on Monday. Be well. Cross our fingers. Could be a busy portal weekend. Peace.